was just F in all caps. Yeah. Okay. Are we all good? I can give a speech or something first. First, thank you to Mr. Clark for writing the speech for me while I was prepping one of LASA's 8 process counterplans. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read your thing. Before we kick things off, I'd like to take a minute to say a few thank yous. These are all coming from the bottom of my heart, even though Mr. Clark wrote them, but sincerely. First, the TOC and the University of Kentucky, specifically J.W. Patterson, Dave Arnett, Brian Manuel, Adrian Rivero, and Michaela Molson. Thank you for creating the elite event that demands the most out of us, and for a well-run tournament. Pairings were all on time, like that is unbelievable. We'd like to thank MBA specifically, our head of school, Brad Joya, for his substantial support and love of this activity. He follows around, like all around results, and is always texting our coaches, and is unbelievably supportive. Well, and I would also like to thank our families, specifically our parents, Mom, Dad, Chris, Christine, for being so supportive in the past 5 years of my doing debate, for their support of our passion for the activity. Of course, our coaches, Coach Clark didn't write out the names, but I have them here. Coach Clark, Coach Hammer, Coach T, Coach Brown, Button, BPS, Aiden, Julian, Pat, and Graham, and anyone else. I really hope I'm not forgetting anyone. Joe Reed. Okay. To everyone on the MBA debate team here, I'm going to call them out. Arish and Willie P, Gabe Goetz, Russell and Kavneer, Lennox and Joseph, Cy and Jack, Marshall and Sanjit. I could not have asked for better teammates or better friends. Thank you to my non-MBA friends who have made this year by far the most enjoyable year I've had in 5 years of debate. This topic is sucked, admittedly, but sincerely, I enjoyed it so much. Even though, neg ground's really high, half ground's really low, flow that if you aren't. Lots is going to go for a process counter plan. NATO's group chat, Chloe, Harlan, Danny, T, Ishan, Samir, Zoe, whatever. I'm missing someone, but I love y'all. And of course, to our worthy competitors, LASA CH, who have also been some of my best friends and some of the kindest people I've ever met in this activity. And of course, for all Maxwell to go, our Max, he's the hardest working person I've ever met in my entire life. He has to have cut upwards of I don't know, what's the number? 950 cards this year? Jesus Christ. I've not come close to that. Also a great guy. Thank you for making my senior year special. Well read. All right. Want to see something? It's 2 advantages in C, however you want to construct your play. Give me 1 second. Advantage 1 is commercial encryption. The 4th industrial revolution is heralded a revolutionary epoch of time within which quantum equipped adversaries will disrupt all digital assets, unifying cybersecurity standards for 4 Q days and imperative practice trauma. 22. The 4th industrial revolution is ushering in quantum given the CLC processing power time elections, safeguard critical delays and processing consequences, setbacks, quantum movement responsibilities, computational capabilities, your constitutional computers code in 0 to 1 0 bits, quantum use qubits 6 0 1 anything between regions of interest, race revolution will pair cybersecurity data has become practically time and lunacy, economy, space, exponential escalation, the right environment for frequency, its weakness escalated quantum compromise all day, encouragement to day market quantum compromise, pressing risk balloon, saying actions, dropping the negative for this HMDL attacks become clear, present time limits, management, transition, quantum physical attack for Q-Day with the risk assessment is happening today, the quantum enabled adversary, quantum text exponential acceleration makes Q-Day likely in the next 2 years, but certainly in the next 5. Preemptive security is the only way to keep adversaries out and win. 22. Y2Q is coming soon, CSA 2030 estimates are nowhere near as pessimistic as A global survey of professionals was 61% quantum will neutralize. Current company just 2 years, YTP developed periods of exponential growth, research breaking through contact, sheet forward, beauty, manufacturing, leaps, exponentially accelerate across Microsoft research, accelerate quantum machines, break RSA, expert defending that. Quantum will neutralize cryptography in 2 years, visions, you should quit it, quantum state production now. 1, Congress cloud data now to correct more, take 2, it may take a long time to switch to quantum production. The worst case may you take years to transition. Quantum enabled attacks bring the economy to a grinding halt. Evolve 17. A quantum computer can decrypt messages or online communication. E-commerce is protected by cryptography breakdown. Cryptography and economy and society world without e-payments and transactions come to whole governance. Life personal ability to communicate, work on thoughts, active people, mass files, whoever communication today, be from Berlin, possible quantum cryptography, ban labor, such communication programs are not under God's scrutiny. Quantum cryptography can be proved secure against quantum adversaries. Slow growth causes great power of brands. 21. Slow growth makes it hard to keep the public happy. Figure out people leaders desperately growth reasons making nationalism correct for industry in the U.S. Economic shift after the imperial expansion. Russia found Islamic document made sure facing slow to Putin invaded countries' spreads. Aggrandized after expansion. Undertaking intervention, the pattern is clear, wars come. That's it causes a nuclear war, breaker 10. Slow growth, increased extremism, and institution countries, the nuclear pans, I can show 1% decline in growth, but increase the share of 2 parties by 1 controlling. Perfect effects apply to causal effect of growth, extremism, hold instrumental variables. I read that diagram. Growth, decline, cause populism. Turnover causes nuclear war, petroleum. 18. Analysis bias by selection, we overcome the regression, discontinuity, find statistically significant evidence leadership. Transition, increase aggression because new leaders lack experience managing crises, or need to improve result by acting tough. Results suggest interstate conflict when president changes compromise. Contrast conservatives who bargain aggressively. Ideologies influence nuclear weapons, controlling for compounders may imply bias passages. Should be interpreted tentative rather than final. Conditional analysis have been all been overturned. All disputes involved unequivocal force in the challenger, one high level of abuse initiated with 133% increase. A slew of studies prove decline causes great power. Or John 22. Study explores how troubled economies make stars regret for the increase in probability of conflict and battle leaders of environmental from ills and create around them a fight by how danger of person incentivizing conflict targeting relevant to revive support. There's little need to trust about action leaders make sharp rising power. Ukraine, SES distributed actions in India, Japan, Taiwan, and the economy. Current outlook is that sort of should be concerned trouble economies use lead and force to aggressive stance. Defense does not assume the post-COVID landscape to global standard box prime for conflict to turnover. 11. 21. From Cuba to Africa to Colombia, hating violent practices sweeping the globe, perfection over economic hardships COVID, inflamed fresh out of global tinderbox, living centers more from broader uprisings, to all Latin America and Asia, all over 37 countries face large movement shocks, eradication, any severe shock, for breakdown in order, alternatives to growth, destroy multilateralism, and cause war, and 21. IR and growth, the absence of government states dominate the interests of all pieces, interlude war, cooperation, and possible liberals, praise economic interdependence, peace mechanism, war becomes unprofitable, economic growth is essential to keep the peace, central to growth, self-explained, growth must be abandoned, IR present, centralizes and produces growth, required to maintain competitive degrowth, horizon, centralization, power, shortening supply chains, power loss. Humanity's the growth of depends on how we interact on board simulated ridiculous system violence will disappear. You all proof as we just degrow. Q-Day breaks the internet castle budget. 22. Quantum break the internet, everything online is made public by cardio algorithms breaking because we bubbles of quantum physics that the entire deal quantum computers get cracker and algorithms exponentially faster data. These are already accumulated currents today. The rest is real. I say announced. They consider current systems vulnerable that will only be get into a process of updating crypto systems. Internet collapse of record civilization. Eaglement 10. Civilizations fall from disasters, depletion, economic disease, poor info never reduce the threat of collapse, epidemic spread to like work, health, presently inhibit, transmission, completely self-quarantine, predict disasters, capital increase debt, open time to anyone who can comfortable self we can find access to threats, you never imagine about triple collapse, complex communication being named civilization, disruptions to the internet, our central risk barrel. 21. Internet is global, can destroy the internet, is dangerous to be secured onto the ship of the internet, destabilize collapses, follow the internet, similar to be secured on the scramble with the internet, let alone trade, you have destruction, multiple stage, the rest of the numerous disasters, access to internet, global meltdowns, cause systems to disintegrate in unpredictable ways. Advantage 2 is military encryption, quantum, cyber attack will disrupt essential military communications. They taking the lead in quantum resilience solves. Brandmeier, 21. Even advanced protection may seem to be insufficient because of quantum computers on the market by 2024. Major systems and ability alternative exercise about the outputs of people of crypto systems by quantum systems data to speak of preparing for quantum cyber attacks. Quantum computing represents security threat. The asymmetric computer systems stores out with a break. Our safer need to be part of the quantum era should be commenced to secure comps when you need us as well as since invade all precision missiles are very hard to already tech naval. Paradox military computer velocity GMD research performance in China. Investigate ways they obtain info. Coast part of government methods provide computational databases to prevent military operations. NATO should launch efforts to support the rest of the opportunities coming in the quantum data as well as invest in quantum resilience computer network infrastructure useful entry, array numbers, and securely speedy management nodes. Quantum compromised military intelligence promotes adversarial nuclear first strikes that causes devastating nuclear. Kalina 22. Use of quantum attack covers crypto analysis impact all warfare. Situation stable is neither side gain for attack not. Diminish second target conflict and generous consequences of stability breaking comes for military CNC, loss of price and high stability, look at missiles unstable, missiles often possibility for summary first strike sympathy first action less, lack of maneuver drive war states some severe social grid to motive prevention that certain devastating nuclear did not be negative survives condition for all the vulnerable super violent the dual use character if you want to talk are missing. Intel disrupts and distance, otherwise NATO intel sharing decks joint operation Boru 11. When the intel cycles for more shares, the fundamental efforts will be practically available and very secure mode breaches, and gaps and needs look for need for assertion within operation by the alliance must be emphasized. Intel decisively directs humanity decision-making process and operation execution superior in order to test and determine successive joint operations superiority than allied operations comprise operations by the designated allied structure and info superiority main aspects successful to a task force and new operations superiority successfully influences successive operations. NATO conflict is likely now. NATO operations hit by effective interoperability or critical stabilization. Burger 20. MENA instability also serve involved with conflict possibility of future that region question please no longer the ability to respond to basic CCOs to economic demands, escalation to legal right lines can easily be cross-sectionalization around large urban centers impact legal migration, neocon, climate change, urban open depositions, challenging the issue cannot be ignored. The direct repercussions, NATO stability becomes a priority for NATO consequences of migration have shown direct impact forces of weakening states provide for violent outside actions benefit from new side trust will be credible see parties taking real understood cooperation attempting to support a conflict agree on the development common culture one of the alliance achievements cooperative security partners given the complexity of the problem solutions can only be found collectively. Interoperability is key to meeting alliance must improve standardization guarantees parties party multiple dynamics after should benefit from increased activity in the ICI regional center and hub at the south. Instability triggers equal war keys 20. Red Sea, 10% of global trade associated zone, military conflict agrees the possibility of conflict rivalries from Egypt to Djibouti out of water facilities. Sudan, increasing problematic American Gulf nations, range tug of war, US, Russia, Japan, and Italy, secure bases, Djibouti's troop power to counter conflict, conserving lines of competition, increase conflict, effective intelligence cooperation, solves the litany of extra threats, furthermore, 20, disease chaining, public, and probably required integrated parts paneling, intel communities, diplomatic efforts to prevent war hits, impacts, security community, must be prepared, responsive, systematic ways after the worst will shape, security leaders will have responsibility to prevent and prepare. Thus, the plan the United States program should increase security cooperation in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in air cyber defense from quantum computing cyber attacks. Now, solvency, the plan cooperates with NATO to invest in research on quantum resilient systems able to resist quantum enabled adversaries that build innovation partnerships with quantum computing industry necessary solvency. Iron 16. Encrypted network is one of the quantum processes and native priority involving software and cyber attacks with a new encryption algorithm vital to use the current ethically inefficient be able to be designed or defense research partners be important to counter quantum countries. New encryption cyber which are outworking software to be true corporate public fundamental nation be the first international organization involved in power encryption. NATO is key. DNS 18. NATO's NCX teams to incorporate solutions to the data capabilities. NCS roles preparation to modernize data networks to the creation of that helps control or rationalize security domains, multinational powers, capability development, NATO can take advantage of the company community, ASP, multiple resource of time upgrading takes your system to power saving tax, NCS, digital vision of status to provide assurance of NATO enterprise policies, ever restricted bounding inhibits, incentive capabilities, policies, Christian organizations, to balance innovative capabilities, and cyber risk level NATO uses the risk and time for design, the fielding capability of one special line of cybersecurity for overall all effectiveness, NCS, traditional economy, algorithms, secure quantum computing, innovation, TKD, important, stay engaged with private sector investors.
Good for concepts?
Yeah.
Cool. First part on solvency says we would cooperate with NATO to invest in research. Who funds the research?
Probably the US is the main funder, although it's not like a fiated mandate in the plan. NATO allies would contribute to the upgrading of domestic and NATO-wide systems.
Do all 30 countries have to agree?
I mean, agree to fund, not necessarily. Agree to the plan, yes.
Okay, agree to the plan, what does that mean for NATO allies? Like, what is their function?
It means the US proposes cyber defense from quantum computing cyber attacks to the NIC. If no one objects to the plan.
No, understand how like the consensus mechanism works. My question is, what is the requirement of the plan on allies? Like, what are allies required to do?
It imposes no specific mandate or requirement on allies.
Okay, then what do allies do to ensure the app solves? Otherwise, why can't the US just unilaterally
Well,
do it
is there a
themselves?
specific fiated mandate of the plan for what allies do?
We think they'd be involved in like funding mechanisms, increasing the resiliency of their own national.
Okay, so allied key warrant is funding and then nationality, like their own domestic systems, correct?
Yeah, like why you can't do the unilat counterplan?
Sure, makes sense. The economy impact, the wolf evidence, where do you have evidence that says adversaries will attack our e-payment and bank transactions?
There are a few things. First is that attackers generally want to undermine economic systems. We read a bunch of evidence. They have already collected the data from economic infrastructure, and they are just waiting for the quantum tech to be sufficient
Which
enough so that they can
evidence says that?
decrypt.
Which part says that?
Sharma, Nguyen, and DeWolf.
Where does the Sharma
all talk
evidence
about
say
how-
anything about the economy?
Okay, the DeWolf card is about the economy. It says quantum computer can
Yeah, the
decrypt
DeWolf
messages,
card
it
says
undermines
that if they
e-commerce.
attack our e-payments and bank transactions, economy
Yes.
stops. Agree. Where do you have evidence that says adversaries are targeting specifically
We
e-payments
have read
and bank
evidence
transactions?
in DeWolf that says quantum threat is already an acute problem. It says adversaries are collecting the data from these systems now and waiting to decrypt later.
Okay, the Q date breaks the internet. Where does it say it would break the internet?
It says that the internet relies on systems being safe and invulnerable to cyber attacks. Obviously, if private
Okay, wait, I'm
actors or
confused.
non-state
Like,
actors
data
or
thieves
adversaries,
steal your data. Why does that mean internet auto collapses?
that's not the internal link to the internet collapsing. The Castrovelli evidence says quantum computers crack algorithms exponentially faster, they accumulate encrypted data. It says that everything online is made possible by encryption. Otherwise, hackers just take down the systems and everything collapses.
Where do you have evidence that says hackers are going to do that? You seem to have speculative evidence that says they could.
First and second cards talk about how quantum risks are high now.
For sure. Military advantage. What is the interlink between intel sharing, success in the MENA region?
There are cards that say intelligence sharing would improve NATO communications generally. The second card says that the Berger evidence talks about how if NATO is able to communicate with its allies and within itself properly,
where does
then it
this card
stabilizes.
say communication is key
The
to MENA
Berger evidence
specifically?
at the bottom talks about how interoperability is key to MENA. The card
Also,
above.
LARO.
Yeah.
LARO says that intel superiority and the secureness of the system is a critical enabler of operations.
LASA has never done this before, so I don't have a template like Chayden had. So I'm sorry if this is wrong at any point, but I tried my hardest in the 5 minutes I remembered to do this in. It's insane that we're here right now. LASA High School receives no funding from the school. We don't have a debate class, and no LASA team has ever made it past octas at the TOC. So Alex and I were kind of really excited just to be here. So first, I want to thank Yaya Chen, our head coach. He's paid nothing, he's not employed by the school, he has a full-time job at Dell and still manages to come in for hours every week. I will never be able to fully thank him for everything he has done. I'm nowhere near giving him the respect and credit that he truly deserves, but I hope this gets us somewhere close to the start. Second, our coaches David Kilpatrick and Arnav Keshat. I feel I will get too emotional if I go into detail about them. They truly are the core of LASA debate. Also to Mason Merritt Voss, who moved to a commune in Maine, so I'll be sure to send a carrier pigeon
He's on the
later.
phone right now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Thanks, Mason. Third, our league of coaches who are so incredible to give up their time and come with us to the TOC. AU, Holland, Treyas are not only obviously incredible debaters, but they're truly one of the kindest and smartest people I met. Also, Zahir became a coach by default for us today, so thank you. My teammates, of course, the leader of which obviously being the great Chloe Kwan, who is also my best friend in the entire world, along with Eleanor Barrett, Lucy Lear, Christian Bomer, Samantha Lowe, Bilal Faisal, whenever you're not here. They spent the last hours cutting cards for us, which is incredible. Also my friends in debate, Daniel Gallagher, Nihar Abhyankar, Harlan Warnsman, Zoe Walsh, Natalie Stone, Leah Huerta, all of Interlake, literally all of the Emory debate team who just helped us out a lot. Ishan Momin, T, and everyone from Michigan 7 Week. Also all my lab leaders, SDI, GVI, like Sri, Turner, Michaela, BK, Bricker, Dana, Forslin, Kehern. Sorry. My past partners, Maya Mickelson, and my parents who hosted 2 years of me screaming in my living room. That was very thankful. Shannon and Raleigh, who I think are the kindest team on the circuit and are truly 2 of my closest friends. And then finally, Alex Wong. It's not only one of my best friends, but I think it's also truly the best the debate community has to offer. Most people don't know, but Alex started debate in 7th grade, so when I walked in my freshman year, she was the one who sat down, coached me, explained how debate really worked at the very beginning. So I can think of nothing better than that. I'm spending my last debate with her right now. Okay, the 1 and 2 should be set. I'm gonna get water. I'm so sorry, Alex lost my straw, so it sounds really bad. The order is 10 off. The advantage is advantage 1, advantage 2. I'm sorry, it's 11 off. My bad.
I was like, thank God, because I have a button for 10, but not for 11.
Yeah. Sorry. No, you're good. Is anybody not ready? MBA Urban Talk Tips in the area, MBA Talk Tips in the violation that does not cooperate with the entire area of cybersecurity report, allowing us to cooperate with ministry reports that each of the topics explicitly multiplies under a topical aspect of all the never possible because it's taking the status quo. Next up. The United States federal government should increase its cooperation with the North University in the area of cyber defense and quantum computing, cyber attacks. The United States federal government should determine that the above mechanisms should be the standard for security cooperation. Solve security cooperation includes combat command, cyber 22. Discuss open solutions, security cooperation challenges, cybersecurity strategies, expert exchanges, training commands, and corporate represented from U.S. Common command, status quo, forward-based strategies, insufficient for current U.S. college strategies. Mark 22. Multipolar changes, rising common commands of policies being reset, structure, trying to dominate every battle, reality, last resource, cannot fly more simultaneously based in Europe, face simulations, we are found within range of company logistical ways to see combat after planning coordinated strategy, automated technology, arbitrary data, in danger of becoming obsolete, overriding authority from combat commander, solve 6 escalation. Mark 22. Comments have grown well beyond global actual preparations for problems with the national security problems, central overall for adjustment joint south with global research to avoid overcoming limited resource where they could be vulnerable to missiles, drones, ever attack, carry action over to nuclear response. Next stop. Pursuant to Article 5 of the Constitution, at least two-thirds of the states should call for constitutional committee, 3/4 of the states should ratify constitutional amendments to increase security operations in the North and Security organization, the air, cyber defense, and quantum computing, cyber attacks, the membership limited exclusively to the states yourselves, the Act 19. I'm not reading that. Next stop. The United States federal government should pass the permitting reform bill currently being debated in Congress. Passes now. I think it's 412. The roadhead is concerned about what it supports for self-funded state permitting reform. So we did do permitting is affiliated from some definition of movement to patent reform. I had more conversations with your colleagues about permitting reform as a path forward and charges I figure out permitting reform. But you know that executive action causes congressional retaliation. Bullet 14. Congress pursues the direction of members that they've had the resort to work within the president is the argument that the use of exec sometimes the president remove the fight is almost about a difference in opinion. The grumbly over exec power continue Obama began drafting elections. Congress would pass what Congress felt the depending on what to do in response to executive line up executive is renewed. Complaints of Republicans King called the move as the Constitution. The number of avenues open opponents have complained have grown. The utility complainers believe the Republican Party to well by gasping to is not continued until it stops working. The result nothing gets done. Effects of permitting self-global war. February 22. Russia's basically reminded the world of American energy, critical world, global stability, underscores the strategic values, national security, and our allies. The America's revival offers buffers against the corrosive use of worth geopolitical organization, right, countering aggression from actions like Russia. The U.S. must reverse a new permitting policy that will hinder the ability to build energy and infrastructure needed. Next up. Without increasing security operations, the United States Congress and executive branch of the federal government should declare that the foreign states and members of the private sector may legally rely on the intention of the United States to increase its security operations in the North Atlantic Ocean in the area of cyber defense from quantum computing, cyber attacks. The United States should treat this declaration as binding only to the extent that it creates international obligations as determined by competent judicial authorities. That solves Order 15. The court has applied law treaties and judicial reasoning. The state make a unilateral commitment of my ILA does not use the municipal level. The state treaty has the intent in the legal agreement. This is a non-binding instrument treaty. Must obligation binding under law as opposed to political commitments. The non-applicable treaty of unilateral binding declaration express considering about the unilateral statement of breeze life to the law of unilateral commitments. Circuit 18. Climate is required by only contained by collective action. ADC with make withdrawal cumbersome like Trump returned to my intention to withdraw with undercut the agreement by really can do nothing called political next do not submit collaborate to law become irrelevant. Dismisses the ADC's force by law other than treated the unilateral declaration blends reasonable upon no other committees when there is a line obligation granted unilateral action that will lead to a new rule the U.S. without escape application has some. It solves a viable to nuclear risk extinction. 421. Unilateral declaration granted assurances indicated to be about effects of climate change factors nuclear strike planet is an emergency human rights biology and territorial targeting arc to avoid direct company to make targets legal binding unilateral declaration add specific legal binding centric and robustness of collective efforts to create peer pressure goodwill and constructive one stars others fall and join solidarity code. Next stop. The United States Department of State should substantially increase its cooperation with the North Atlantic Organization, the Air Cyber Defense and Quantum Computing Cyber Attacks. The Department of Defense should provide relevant information, training, authority, and funding, and expertise to the Department of State and defer to the Department of State on all activities regarding the plan, consolidating authority into U.S. Solves. 21. Security systems is broken duty, inhibiting oversight, coordination, and country militarization. Security investments are limited, not chiefly countries, including non-democratic parties, human rights, and ineffective bureaucracy. The U.S. could depend on allies, but the system not suited. Then you can embrace reform to provide diplomacy, both system part of the examining how funding is balanced, return research, and address geopolitical challenges. The team provide better support, useful policy, building economic authority, and also give us diplomatic coverage, badly needed, enhance civil and criminal justice, risk. 20. The nation held on unmasked military might, the diplomacy have to come to reconstruct more stable than our world. Should place Americans place civil outside in front with armed forces, still in diplomacy fails to do threat across the diplomacy, climate change, shortage, narcotics, security, pandemics, the NATO allies of American power. We need diplomats, home dynamics, climate change. Next stop. The 1AC segment strategic discourse invests in nuclear weapons as an object of fantasy instead of horror. 20. Sexual metaphors and discriminate nuclear weapons, excitement, great idea, nuclear expectation over early missile envy, and the psychosexual overtones of intellectual play sexual imagery metaphors to demonstrate masculine status, technology, abstraction about human lives, and sort of activity, language, realizes gender axioms, security, stereotypical masculine ideas such as masculine autonomy, power, isolation, construction, masculine stereotypes, conflict insurance, are actually gender masculine language frames debates about nuclear weapons. The scholars confront such depictions, extend feminist critique, the public debates support ample opportunity for security analysis, take on feminist criticism seriously. Vote negative to endorse career art of failure and IR mark in October 21. Traditional knowledge, child violence, violence, and IL failure, enacted of standard invisible sex impacts, and standards for research, fantastic and mature knowledge, accumulation, reinforcement, reification standards of is a significant divorce for reference. Rather than seeing failures to endpoint or stopping point, it can be seen as itself in its endpoint itself in politics. This is directly applicable to IR's epistemological engagement with non-heteronormativity failure, and the IR scholarship reviews standards research tests, which will manage data to the career art of failure, the real negative effect and natural future as, oh my god, as resistance towards it offers one of the very much alternative hegemonic systems, market systems, next up. The United States federal government should condition defense cooperation with the North Atlantic Organization in the area of cyber defense from quantum computing and cyber attacks and allies adoption and enforcement of stricter export controls and sensitive technology transfers to the People's Republic of China. Allies say yes. 22. Security systems can be instead of use and interpreted behavior. It becomes separated as withheld following entry U.S. Provide the U.S. competitive advantage unconditional capacity, availability capacity. The U.S. should but use the conditional aid as leverage security systems in the area for competition with Russia. China conditioning the plan exchange controls the key to limit Chinese semiconductor dominance. 23. Washington suffers an adequate enforcing cooperation from allies will be central coordination difficult to realize European companies may subsidy U.S. tech. The U.S. first priority for coordinating multilateral export controls targeting Chinese tech progress and semiconductor should be close consultation with foreign governments. The clarifying U.S. policy critical of achieving multilateral consensus with allies helping Chinese progress and achieving semiconductor call for moving past limitation consultation with allied countries need to be due to exchange semiconductor dominance realize tech superiority keeps supremacy. 22. Controlling chips and raging economy because China's geopolitical influence semiconductor tech they facilitate the battleground of the global countries for how chips and live quantum computing and AI advanced chip requires special intelligence. Nuclear war. 21. New tech into the U.S. and ally reinforced ability to basically employ new techs in ways that detail and nuclear combat attacks and mount power can lead to war. Market war. Next up. The United States federal government should increase the security cooperation of Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Montenegro, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Spain, Turkey, and the United Kingdom regarding cyber defense from conduct computer attacks, and hold that security cooperation with the North Computer Organization and cyber defense from conduct computing cyber attacks is unlawful on the grounds that there cannot be security cooperation with the North Computer Organization, security cooperation with federal states collapse current counter-terror, and global democracy participation. Number 22. U.S. difficulties led to increased military needs to work on and state extensive corruption, dislocation, and U.S. should carefully consider increasing security cooperation of federal states partner, unable to sustain capacity, increase political stability, corruption, and oppression, and core U.S. emerging country, most economic abilities for counting progress events cannot provide basic service control, dictator, correlated coups, torture, imprisonment, and genocide, and unless 100% country federal wars performance rights include years side conditions, state term assistance to oppressive present target opponents or policy service the time between government and citizens, the programs involved for the Europe without shifting up into hands of leadership, international legitimate conditions, not work for cities that use Russia trying to get concessions, market concessions to the Venezuela. No economic decline impact. Wall 20. I do not think the short economic condition likelihood of war, depression, war costs, there would be a lot more. The U.S. has 740 recession, 528 wars unrelated to the economy, horses, war costs, war there. How many in the last 5 states do not start wars, let's do the way no matter what the country's economic condition may be, those who are going to war, primary motivation, the largest for security, economic gain, economic condition, not really one factor among the most significant, even large lasting argument affects the world economy, not likely to affect the probability of war. So good this now overall. 20. GDP slowed down 2.3%, so it's a period crisis. There's something we can fix because we a consequence of things where that when right problems for daily significant impact, particularly in the U.S. maybe even workers rose substantially as that proceeded to growth where workers age out, the rate of my kid access to college, opening up a profession to women, so from goods to service became inefficient, share expenditures fell, the growth factor destroy our goods, no impact to the internet class, week 12. Eagle Lens purpose is vague and meaningless. Eagle Lens ignores any evidence that might uncredit work, transient research, preventable means of by distribution of the protective net. Eagle Lens sites, aware of all goes. LASA no, Cover 21. Inside of those misalignment with the mission, which undermines the missions, we can block by Turkey and Hungary by liberal rules, problem inherent in the land, rather kids, there be no worse culture with reception countries of the far left and far right parties, opposed to most cases, this is however, right, take view of the behind features of the Russian Federation, anti-Anderson, and try to get into villages, some forces, flex populations, market populations, advantage 2. No cyber impact, lose 20, not say state lack of ability, cost damage, and absolute catastrophe. There's enough uncertainty about it, ability actually the ability to retaliation or cyber attacks leads to equate the two. News opponents have no interest in catastrophic attacks. They would produce equally retaliation and resolution of our current country, limited risk of absence of just control by advanced states, and neither Russia, China, attack US, Iran could, but only when in common broth and North Korea has not abilities, no Middle East impact in 2015. Even when president would travel country to Ireland to go over to resist and fail state was more cost effective than nation building, the regional order remains their power, bids and movement checkmated each other, deep state their external defense is were left standing the power around to the zone of power around exchange, ever increasing fragmentation and very hard to keep to the board. Market board, no laundry list, it's not causal the gap solves, leads impact is stuff in the status quo, Trump should bind just leak to ton of documents, or Russian intelligence sharing should take out the impact.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hungry pick, need to counterplan skipped, right?
Yep.
No ASPEC vagueness, other voting issues,
Correct.
gaps, data, and T.
Yep.
Status of the counterplans.
The status quo is always logical option against new undisclosed affirmatives.
Can you kick plans?
Can we pick blanks? We can probably do whatever against new apps.
So yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let's start on combatant commanders. How does it compete?
Security cooperation. We think security cooperation requires the inclusion of combatant
What
commanders.
evidence do you think you've read that says that?
Well, obviously the Trinity will have a stack of cards in this, but the cybercom evidence in the 1 and C indicates two things. One, when security operations are initiatives, they would have to go through combat commanders first for approval.
Hold on.
Second,
Wait, the cybercom card that's we're referencing?
yep.
Okay, it's an 8-point font, but it says the 3-day event included panels and breakout sessions that incorporated U.S. combatant commands.
Correct.
What
As an
evidence do you think
example
you've
of
read
when
that
security
says?
cooperation included that.
So it's normal means counterplan.
Well, two things. One, we read definitions that include that. So also, I don't understand what the distinction is
Do you have
between
any
normal means
evidence that says
competition and
security
definition.
cooperation as defined requires combatant commands?
We think the cybercom evidence is probably reaches that threshold because the 2AC evidence, when we read it, will not make the distinction between combat commanders and broader DoD action. Obviously, only we are reading evidence.
How do you
that comes
think the counterplan text results in picking out of combatant commands?
It doesn't use the word security cooperation, and then it uses
Okay.
the above mechanisms as the same.
But what evidence says that using the word cooperation only results in excluding combatant commands?
Well, the counterplan doesn't use security cooperation.
Do you have any evidence that cyber command or like combatant commands are not included in other types of foreign policy cooperation with other foreign nations?
Well, I don't know why we need evidence that says that, especially because when the 1AC read a really short plain text, that's evidence that backs that up. We get evidence that backs our plain text.
Do you have a card that defines cooperation as not including combatant commands?
Do you have a card that defines cooperation
So
as
the answer's
combat
no.
commanders?
Answer's no.
I mean, we can read this in the
Answer's
Trinity,
no.
but also,
Fair,
this
come
is
on.
not the burden of the negative. You have to read a card that has both.
It's not the burden of the negative to ensure their counterplan competes.
It does compete as for the cybercom evidence. We picked out a security cooperation.
Offsets counterplan, you
Yep.
call the advantage counterplan. How does it compete?
Which one? Expert conditions or the advanced counterplan? The advanced counterplan?
The advantage counterplan.
We think the advanced security cooperation advanced the one.
It bans the plan. Okay, that makes sense. It says it's on the grounds that there cannot be security cooperation with NATO. Does that result in abolishing all other security cooperation with NATO?
Probably.
That's a yes. Okay, Solera, it's about fragile states. What evidence says that those fragile states are in NATO?
Oh, this is the whole entire thesis of security cooperation in what's wrong with the status quo. Solera makes two arguments. One, we don't have accountability for weapons that extend and other security cooperation programs. Second, we can use what's the impact part
Later
called?
in the paragraph you've shrunk, it's about Afghanistan. Do Do you have any
Right.
evidence that
Solera
says
indicates
the
secure
internal...
cooperation with some countries spills over to
What
others. We have
evidence?
accountability for where there's like things to go.
Whoa, where do you think your card says that banning security cooperation with NATO results in ending arms or other security cooperation to other fragile states in literally different continents?
Well, two things. One, the Solera evidence makes 2 points. One, the spillover stuff I already explained above, which I don't think I need to do again. Second, it doesn't have to be specific to NATO as long as we prevent nuclear arms from happening in the future.
Okay, to be clear, bans cooperation with NATO.
Correct.
Great. Over all issues, not just the plan.
Correct.
Great.
Okay. Then, starting.
I'll just...
Okay, I respect your choice, I guess. I'm not here. We're all stressed. It's fine. It's fine. Because it literally solves the because it literally solves the It's fine. This comes? Yeah. Oh, you're reading.
Yeah, I know. I said that.
You're big.
I'm a big fan.
No, I was aware. I was really good.
I'll just... Okay, yeah. Oh. Sorry. No, you're good.
Okay. 644.
Did you say 644?
Yeah. Yes, you said. Okay. Speech, that's it. Before I start, I wanted to echo everything Shannon said. Thank you to our school, our families, opponents, and teams, everyone who came to the TOC. It's been a lot of fun. A few specific people I want to thank. First and foremost, my older brother. You brought me into this activity and really listened to every question I had, my novice self could ask, even if he didn't want to. He showed me how fun debate could be and taught me how to research and taught me almost everything I knew. Yeah, thanks Asher. Next, my parents. Y'all shown me only the utmost support for me despite the fact you don't understand debate. MBA team, I would not be in this activity if it wasn't for y'all. Y'all make it enjoyable, and yeah, it's been great. Jack and Marshall, I'll miss y'all next year a lot. Rest of the team, y'all the reason I do debate. I also want to thank my lab this past summer, BJJK. Another reason I do debate, y'all made the 7 weeks of debate work in Michigan so enjoyable, and I've enjoyed seeing y'all all tournaments throughout the season. Finally, Chandon, you are such an innovator. You never stop thinking about ways you can negate the topic, and while most of your kind of friends just ban the plan and do something random, they're kind of smart, I guess. Definitely gonna miss you next year. You've taught me so much this year, and it's been a pleasure to debate with you. All right, cheers. Advantage 1, advantage 2, T, DOS, unilateral declaration, decay, the combatant commands counterplan, the advantage counterplan, the con-con counterplan, the condition counterplan with semiconductors, and then the discussion. Okay. Yeah. 1, 2, T, DOS, unilateral, semi-RK, combatant command, advantage, con-con, the condition, semiconductors counterplan, and carbon set. Okay. Everyone good?
Economic decline caused exchange of 1 is over 1 ways to reduce any speech later become a double as peculiar evidence. 2 is diverse powers for people, boys, and women, and subjects that young evidence 1 goes neg, 1 is wrong work, and habit or coveting periods with 2 turn includes the depression, strengthening the populace likely to go to war, 3 time includes war still possible, and news make up the 1 is E2, the evidence doesn't assume the after wolf evidence is 1 and able to act cause the whole economy to collapse to a line and digital system to make quantum likely 1 is E3, yes, impact of the internet quantum, and the evidence does assume quantum, and is definitely collapse the internet and the collapse breaks down to interdependence, we're trying to get war and collapse global communication, we're next to climate change, natural disasters, and recession that's equal to marital evidence or evidence only and that's equal to evidence marital evidence also substantiates economic exchange in the 4 and T4 the same LACS 1 is economic gain 100 preferred have stable content for 1 third by complete collapse 2 is imperious past cooperation proves LACS 3 to fall and the code says now seen there's no voting decision taken unless it's going to have subjects ready to do anything you should only sounds pursued in the last state every decision will be passed under state of and bills objects and house for better how long with the benefit of action solid choose not present the lines function with the situation of 1 state evidence not about quantum just about general disagreements with data just says and then in most cases they'll say no not to the point second edge. Quantum enable access to motoring general centralized as your adversarial first strike on NATO devastating devastating before that's for lane evidence 1 is see 1 is on a 2 mark triple yes capabilities are sharp evidence are increasing their quantum capabilities now yes escalating the that's so distant broad but the clouds their job their impact clouds NATO obstacles and influence they stabilize being global as there's in the region and certain speeds are on nuclear cars escalate that's heat evidence is older than 7 years old in recent changes to make escalation likely also drop into incident back ready to come to real car affecting the election that's part of the evidence saying longer than the bad not every answer but our evidence says they don't work as well T. 1, we meet the point secures all NATO citizens who kind of information Indians with unloved somewhere which takes any cases political then level 3 preferred A after out there to criticize the views to big side ridiculous application of EDTs B is overloading the happen also predict all sides of C's grammar economy throughout the others in this room deep position or and been divided 1 side jars valuable per play meaning 4 functional let me check EU case in other words US. 1 military responses are key A's, native military drones, quantum comprising increases in the first strike, that's primary B's, until military integration, quantum resilience, that's every secure military communication, that's for only the duty, can prevent your major. 22, department of example, again, so you need to defend the mail, always have a change with the C's, innovation, darkness, scheme, all, so what do you? Darkness going to give you everything, and everything, as you do the worst in the pockets, American forces on about it, I'm just sleeping on top, as they get a bit of way, these cities and markets are not taking on, like the disaster arms, D's, NATO diplomacy, and what do you? US energy, I went through the mission after several delegations, to industry rule, like most of these evidence, most of those out by events, E. Bergman, vacancies of labor, charity, Bergman, the UDC, and regarding significant operation, turns the world around expenditure, other capacities, like delay, cause of all worst scenarios. One is hard encryption that takes time for it. It's rapidly encryption, that's when we choose harmonies, the everything attacks, hackers by the steal down, encrypt later logic, we get time of the essence, that's the wolf and Charmin 2, permanent kind of way the blame, give it as SC comes to the US, and discording SC comes in addition to DVD, US, or European subset SC, notice program 3, perfect goes solves in here 4, no internal light spill, 1 action, also brought up on CB, terminal no exceeding limit, the first card 3, you have good doing answers, do not autocover. 1 no internal A, 1 you not autocover, 2 not solve, B square solves the internal, chain 1, true evidence, true, connection 1 of 5, may find the base under triple source of violent, no declaration, internal, source for, state make a location, only, or writing the legal matter of US, so we call state of Belgium, and the findings of posture, always better, and the university logic economies 2 from the economists away, the plan can be done, 2, 3 can't solve the economies, you not allow, including NATO A, and A is until NATO coordinating officer, and Mr. Quantifiers, the development cost effective, the mean destabilization, interelections, borrowing, murder, B coordination, NATO, as an equal to national parties and people in the moment that can create, quantum result solutions, the data, CGT's innovation, NATO, as an experiencing engagement with the private sector, quantum innovation, that's key to one result is DNS, and German D, you know, auto centers, information leading well. Key goal is economy, is a high result, what you're working in full companies, that would benefit from for the nation, all the rest of the those one result, versus the negative control, because challenge with ethical cybersecurity capabilities, infrastructure, and education training, groups like you guys get American Seattle, increase in areas that will be 4 in the economy, and other issues solved for economy is also violent, and response to the form of specific state, non-aversion of the economy 6 withdraw from declaration voids at 7, or scores striking down, non-partisan cause controversy 8, outlaws 2, this tried, Ukrainian US violations proved 9, permanent applied through the process of economic chain, permanent goes, solved, and turned off. Okay. Framework way the applicants links the plans together, the implication their information with the opportunity defense on surrender is the only effect curve flash based critical research tested and networking about the inclusion of the kind of the 1 and 2 terms are 2 also without text or mitigation centralized the activity is taking out around class 3 curve the results in self blank term level fails 4 no link the after like commit to single will be 5 no gender cause 8 powder drinks and nerves and then like that's couple of first one hard but women are going to say and then ever does like that on the cause effects of the US foreign relations and general like risk of the challenges sitting and energy relevance is changing alongside shooting and political parties and never not who's the same whether race will do a more consistently considered a post and then you have the new generation of action and it's part of or keep it in culture that element of service part of the actions either culture the guys but it was part of the relation 6 all solves cannot split up 7 no link there all the links are inevitable command 1 permanent go 2 permanent kind of non-normal means combination of bad just like finding kind of things that are not required by the 3rd person security cooperation 3 permanent the app and secondly 4 permanent the app to comment over other issues 1 and 2 3 permanent 5 or 6 permanent the app to determine the non-commanding command is the standard for security which is not function 7 no spell where just 1 use 8 no turning and 1 to see if you get your answers when they read them and then it's kind of 1 permanent economy, this is an offset economy that's plan plus 2 permanent the first one to name it by following solves and I made 3 data to include heat cross flight from 4 permanent economy to account 6. Flex meetings is the requires the next side of the non-engagement warning committees and efficient money. How it solves the bad launch of 5 battle comes on members of voting issue trade break the from the limited education like 6 there impacts the non-data states the economy dissolve 7 permanent the app and all national non-national entities of the economy spurs nuclear flow that escalates by 7 9. Data to intended state government reversal other than watch this at the west side street trust generally semester every other term on get them ASAP con. 1 permutation with all the ring constitution to seal 2 and send out benefit done precedent functionally and that's the following do the plan 3 do the plan 1 modification delay cells and benefit 4 column low notes rise for 18 confirmation because numbers going and do it not only have authority subject be some very present but battles and certain these are present application numbers we're saying the minute 6 5 permanent to do the kind of minutes away the plan can be if 1 is 6 con is better 4 half ground is those obviously division constitution requiring the avenue executed by setting meaningless process deficit conditions 1 permanent economy met 23. Influence of the security system condition on instead of incorporated and was converted to 8 I think important means branch out still does not require certainty core 15 closing and terms of disability and been priorities and developing the policy child can action was taking on case expedition posing was the kind of closing and should get action was going to do except for good reason should represent future body should look at the possible future events should represent activity by any government need agency to achieve security objectives with partner we can write 14 we define keep us as I go to use government guards that security objective modification evidence GD use it as rather than DOS suggesting for corporation duty, DOS and other activities to forward delay cause all of us and has crossed by 5. The version statement mechanism is bad, AP to P trust for review. What is the name of getting community trust for the school for the max money, how to do it in terms of uncertainty, sensitive but national security that national service B is the charge of security, receiving individual security folding, collapsing, effective visual check that's burger, safety, nationality fails, but 70. This gentleman is by says become a whole larger than Salon is organizing talent in the country for work, something, other local and fishing shells for much of the many for work, as on the common future as of 6 from the kind of firmly defined account of other issues solves kind of must be text chain function key to us for Afghan execution on activity 5 no internal A on cause of front on merge check not to again ABC no internal NATO coverage not PD considering this side Firm due both to Japan Thumbers, Joseph Jensen, like Fargo 3, 1 of the Cage, no, Davis, that's what there's focus on the different possibilities, but minimum detail like it's a muscle more, yes, the more you have it is not finding big do possible anyway. I get it, we got more, I'm glad to do more things. 5 for 3, no delay, link families out, is immediate, but controversial extra now, no law 15. But it is extra mile, it all has an attack to the short term, official one, the executive society, no link, the app is not being pushed for banning the plans, truly controversial distances itself from it won't pass J 30 to 29. Parliaments are permanent and Russell and North Korea, and all people working on the goals, and should be a little bit, but there's never except no impacts on unit, Venezuela next fly, and no energy impact on meter 20. Connie's found 180 times over here because believe it, because you can get our gas for the special region, not fatal, and not escalate any NATO cooperation in the past 3 months.
Ukraine cooperation through NATO firms. Okay, I'm good.
Sorry, I still don't know what.
I sent out like a bunch of supplementary emails. I can compile them all into one doc if you want.
Could you?
Yeah. Y'all don't care if I take, like, I don't need to take
Yeah,
it. Okay, yeah.
You're just putting it into one thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was like literally 4.
Yeah, okay. Clyde, do you have the binder that came with it?
Okay. 2AC supplement compiled.
We can restart.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. I want to start on the cards about why the clear process is key. The first card, why is it about like a distinct process being bad?
The Sharma card?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Sharma is basically talking about like industry, government relations.
Yeah.
We read evidence saying that
Development
that's
of new
critical.
systems must gain community trust. Why is the counterplan a new system?
It's not a question of it being a new system, it's a question of it being uncertain and doesn't develop
Where do you think it says
trust
that? It's
with
about new systems needing trust because people
it's
are
okay.
familiar.
It's generally saying that trust is crucial for developing
Yeah, why does the counterplan
technologies.
destroy trust?
It's uncertain, it conditions
Where
cooperation.
do you think this makes the connection between uncertainty within the
Well,
process
we're
of
obviously
passing the
gonna
plan
deal
and
with
trust?
like certainty impacts with certainty internally.
Yeah, I'm asking about that
The
internally.
middle evidence says it's very hard to enforce the conditions on the cooperation, and it always gets tied up.
So
in,
to
like,
win the sovereignty
disagreements.
deficit, you also have to win that allies say no. That's the prerequisite.
No, it's not that they say no, it's more that they like might resist the plan or
I'm
like,
just confused where you think this connection is between new
Okay.
systems requiring trust and allies
if the
being
counterplan is a
uncertain.
certain commitment that they will do the plan, then it doesn't compete. If it is an uncertain commitment, then
Okay,
we can
again, no
impact that
evidence is
out.
about uncertainty in the context of the counterplan. The next argument about assurances, which piece of evidence is the counterplan's process
Yeah,
receives,
the
quote,
entire
Intel
internal link,
security faltering.
the entire internal link for like Intel cooperation is that they know that their systems are secure. They have trust that the U.S. and that NATO are different.
Right, but the
quantum
counterplan
resilient
results in a
systems.
policy similar to the plan. Thus, why is there why?
Well, we
why
think
are
the
they
process
faltering?
of getting there is uncertain.
Which piece
Allies-
of evidence speaks to allies perceiving the process of the plan passing?
The Waru.
Which one? What's the line?
The Waru. I mean, I don't have a line on me, but
There's
the card
no
is
line
generally
there?
talking about developing trust between allies.
Again, in the
their
context of
intelligence.
technology being developed, which is about the process of the policy being cast.
It's still an uncertain like counterplan.
So not about that. Let's talk about conditionality fails. Why is this about the app or relevant?
Yeah, Biddle evidence is like very specifically about like the U.S. federal government, DoD using conditions for like security force assistance. It says there's a lot of like interest misalignment between countries they're conditioning cooperation with. It says
Yeah,
it's
it's
possible to
specifically
monitor.
about troop deployment being rough. Why is that?
No, this card's like very clearly about conditioning security cooperation. It talks about there's monitoring challenges. We can't enforce the conditions on cooperation. It leaves limited leverage and promotes inefficiency in aid.
Okay,
provision.
again, not about the app. I want to talk
More
about the NATO
internal
key
links to
stuff
certain
at the very
nexus.
top, which is cross-line with the counterplans. The intel deficit. Why is NATO coordination key?
Yeah, we read a few pieces of evidence, the DNS evidence, the intel deficit. The Berger evidence is very clearly about NATO operations, NATO-led operations. and,
It's in
like,
the context
Middle East
of
and
NATO
Africa.
troops, which was obviously not owned by NATO because NATO's
No,
not
the
an
card
army.
is about like NATO coordinated operations.
Again, why don't member states having the information? Why is that not sufficient?
Because it's not coordinated by NATO as an entity.
Why not? Obviously, member states who are doing the operation know
Okay.
everything. Why does that not solve?
If the counterplan uses NATO for coordinating their operations, then it's like not competitive. But you cannot access NATO. NATO has like unique centers. The card
What unique
mentions
centers?
NATO ICI regional center
Why are
and
those
NATO
key?
South for the South. Berger says it.
It just,
It says
the
a
reason they're
critical,
key is
like,
Berger says it.
No, well, they coordinate allies' responses and allies like
Why
operations.
can't countries do
and
it?
things like
That's fine.
About 10 minutes.
I'll do it then. I think it's easier. Yeah, that's right. You're right. I think it's true.
rebuttal?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take that one. Sorry, let me put my speech. Okay, thank you, speech. Thank you to my coaches. Yaya, who's been coaching me since I was a 7th grader. As a volunteer coach, he's given up all of his weekends, Wednesday and Tuesday afternoons, and 3 lunches a week just to come to LASA and coaches. Clarify, we've paid him absolutely nothing, so this is just him being a very, very nice person and loving debate. Even without his incredible coaching abilities, Yaya has really helped me grow as a person, has taught me a lot because he was with me through all of my adolescent years. David Kilpatrick helps lighten the move all the time, really lowers the burden for us. He's helped us in K debates and policy debates, really good card cutter. Arnav Kashyap helped us a lot, even though he has his own debate career to worry about. He also comes, judges for us, we pay him basically nothing, so just like Yaya, volunteer coach, really appreciative for him. The coaches for this weekend, AU has been so helpful. I've watched her debate as a 9th grader at the Texas Open. I was amazed at how concise and confident she was. As a woman in debate, she's always going to be my idol, and I cannot thank her enough for what she's done for us this weekend, all the card cutting, the organization, etc. Treyas and Holland also been incredible this weekend. Treyas kept our politics file updated. Holland helped put out fires, which Sam can probably contest to. Parents don't really know debate, but appreciate them as well. They pounded me and supported me through this activity. That doesn't really make sense from an outsider perspective, because like, what are we talking about? Want to thank my opponents, Shannon and Raleigh. Because of COVID, I didn't really get to know anyone on the circuit until the camp this summer. I met and became friends with Shannon. He's become one of my closest friends on the circuit. He's genuinely a very, very nice guy. Raleigh, one of the nicest people I know. We have a lot of fun making fun of Shannon and Sam. One more active, you're negative. Shout out to all those small schools, by the way. LASA also a small program, so really appreciate all the work you do. I know it's really, really hard. Of course, I have to thank the LASA team. Chloe Quant, I met her through debate, but she's quickly become one of my best friends. She's been on emotional support duty all weekend and has talked to me before and after rounds. I cannot thank her enough for keeping me sane and, in line. Sophomores, Bilal, Christian, Sam, juniors, Eleanor and Lucy. I know you're all going to be incredible next year. You're all going to crush it on your own. Thank you all for your card cutting and good lucks. I really appreciate it. Lastly, of course, Sam Church. Back in 9th grade, before we were even partners, we actually made a dream board and hoped that one day we'd be partners, finals of the TOC. Glad it actually happened. He's incredibly supportive, kind, and balances me out so well when I get stressed about debate, and I cannot think of someone I want to be in finals with more. Sometimes the Twenty. Order is the unilateral, it's a 200 plan, and then the combat combiners plan. Yeah, all good.
Okay, you said unilateral declaration and then combat commanders?
Yep.
I'm good.
All good. Everyone good? The Council Consoles has ascended an executive branch issue a binding international proclamation that creates global reliance, committed to promoting the practices and commits the government to treating this proclamation as binding. Solves the aspects of the exact same standard of protection using law of unilateral proclamations instead of security cooperation. That's ODERMET. That precedent revitalizes the broader law of unilateral commits, creating a sensible place to comparatively commit to policy as a surrogates evidence is ransom, global cooperation, nuclear conflict, and warming cause extinction. That's the shorty evidence. First argument, yes, Bill American counterparts precedent solves international law, international cooperation relies on states' trust that the counterparts will follow through with their commitments. Only the counterparts also makes commitments enforceable, ensuring they can be trusted. Binding good faith is key to international law. Related propagation. One states commit good faith, explain how commitment or risk they may act declaration of France by statements has undertaken to terminate nuclear tests. The coherence of law and refer to a system of nuclear knowledge was incoherent. As under intelligible practice under a service and principle international program just a good faith and coherence of major political identity reinforce important pragmatic construction of legal systems. SCO does not solve no evidence that they followed through. Just to say that they made public statements, which is not sufficient. They have to read evidence in case they actually went through with it, because that's key. The kind of solvency and neutral net benefit solvency. Second, inserted the trend evidence below had no effect on the international community, which their evidence explicitly concedes. Curve to the counterplan is severance, voting issue for net ground. It's that means domestic law, not obligations. TO5, it's laws, regulation, emphasize laws means domestic law, obligation under international law. Second, security cooperation is mutual exchange. I love it. The duty to security cooperation, mutual exchange, and the system under which the U.S. provides security solution of the military on a concessionary basis. Third, with requires reciprocity. Gregory 15, with requires the next between U.S. and foreign countries. The word with and state the word among suggest other nations do not submit to regulatory powers. Third, resolve is a synonym of enact. It means by law, whereas the phrase 64 resolve is enacted by an established by law. Unilateral declarations are a source of obligation, not law. Law 21, unilateral state statements give to legal obligations. All sources of law constitute the start of the obligation. Independently, the topic requires certain immediacy. A substantial means fixed and close to out to input, whereas the phrase 64 substantial means full exists outside the present high fact, not nominal, not include any other supposed to include the second. Second, increases the mandate on process HEFC4 increase use an extra function rather than objective itself. Obligation increase the work will just adequately define the limits of duty. Third, so should is mandatory. Short 17. Ordinal outcome meaning of should is necessary voluntary obligation. Use express X, B, and Z. It's not normal means. It's a 1 and Z. Normal means not gonna say that. Promises are source of obligation, not law. 18. A state can incur obligation through formal parts which are not necessarily law. Differentiating formal source of obligation helps distinguish acts for unilateral form or unilateral in effects. The counterplan certainly solves case. They have misunderstood the counterplan. It is not that the U.S. only does the act. We have promised the act to allies that have not vetoed it that the act would pass, which is the reason why we're competitive. It means it still results in all of the NATO keywords because you have evidence that the case NATO would follow on. It's well accepted and legally binding. So 19. A unilateral means that goes to the currency that makes our relations with a declaration of war or acknowledges the state so as making public announcement or unilateral acts with legal effects for long states of existence. So unilateral binding. The legal content is the act itself independent of any corresponding act. The ICJ has recognized unilateral obligations. Declaration is binding. Practice of the service is fundamental within all legal systems with financial obligation based on good faith. It's far stronger than CIO. The signal street like Bowman 29. The Constitution allows recognized CIO as domestic law. However, the court unequivocal produced the law as part of our as well recognized declarations that unilateral acts create all legal obligations. They're not negotiation binding. Creates a new law settling a state with unilateral like commitments out of the unilateral declaration be bound to the one state must be creating binding obligations on itself. It signals better than the plan. Solves their certainty words. The declaration is an outward facing announcement to the entire world that they can count on the U.S. The entire mechanism is designed to maximize the signal and is the best signal possible. Sexy 21. No binding guarantees accompanying arrangements and joint plans are not options but impose obligation. Nevertheless, unilateral declaration expect countries to act like relations open how access to access to legal obligation as opposed to enhanced cooperation not create effective expectation countries would aid one another. There exists a strong expectation arrangements were held air. The deterrent effect would be negated. The parties have strong incentive to making proceeds from most serious outcomes. Create a strong obligation to aid and support. It's perceived internationally and modeled. Resting 18. Action posting non declaration of the initiative compliance and other parties take similar action until these uses agreement. Declarations are publicly available and easy access. Roberts as a verbatim 12. When declarations are in legal language, they are writing made publicly available, such as for prosecuted acts and by entities and being employed by other groups. Oh my god. They said harm other instances, counterplan other issues intrinsic, which is illegitimate. The counterplan promises the plan nothing else. Intrinsicness is a voter proves the plan is sufficient. Allows new choice plays that beyond unpredictable advantage and additional action by the most powerful act on the earth, which solves any distant links. It eliminates this counterplan, which is good. It fails a breadth and proclaims legal principle unilateralism wholesale. Matheson 6 members advocate to include a whole range of unilateral conduct, support abdication on general principles. This was inclusive to an end of the use of plug narrow the force, and not to pronounce a whole range of conduct to various character does not limit the empirical principle like the years. Unpredictable happening with incoherent comment crushes solvency. London 83. Unilateral declaration constitute binding obligation states nation can no longer leave the questions unclear articulated policy was shown by fear and parents so intent to become clear expectation or more political discussion not less require confidence and control. The consequences of the speech that includes silence could be genealogical declaration useful in counteracting death and such abolition possible. We'll do that clarity. Second, specificity, right? And short 20. The question of specificity may impact investor violation and not a promise of specific and relevant expectation, legitimate expectation can be only read by specific alarmists or commitment. Specificity was crucial. Practice and emphasis or specific representation trigger legitimate expectations. They said we cannot resolve international law that was above. We result in spillover. They are assertions, not warrants. I'll answer. When they give us a warrant, they said can withdraw. Also an assertion, not a warrant. If they give us a warrant, it's new in the one area. U.S. says no, it's not a thing. It's a unilateral declaration. But the effects independent of reactions by other states. Clause 15. Unilateral judicial act just making one side by one party without reciprocal obligation. The term unilateral because of the fact conduct and from a single world explicitly denying the need for negotiation for to exist nuclear. Test case and equal care effects may be strictly unilateral, though no reciprocity or mutuality is needed. There's consensus on the existing unilateral obligations. So Article 19 is clear the unilateral for legal order. There is a very really different where there's disagreement. On source judges still agree the obligation exists. No strike down. Warrantless will not strike it down. No card indicates that the courts would strike it down. No I-law is not toothless in the context of the status quo, which is net uniqueness. Is the reason we need to count upon now. U.S. violation is meaningless. It's not a flash out warrant. No explanation of what U.S. violations are. Permanently planned through process of incoherent. Counterplan is not a possible process of the plan. The result can only be changes to declaration, not cooperation. That answers that's all of our answers on. Do the counterplan is also vague, rejected because shifting makes impossible answers. If it means do the counterplan and the plan no matter what, that suffers immediacy and is intrinsic because that uncertainty. Permanently fails a signal. The context of the plan, the counterplan will be interpreted as serving international functions. They get 16 doubtful whether the same as promise of domestic law to be committed for neither statute or regulation or impact of decision made not in the places of international law. Moral obligation bill is actually granted privilege or more that any moral obligation plan is also possible that same as adopted domestic after the occurring any obligation of law that may say on cold shower unilateral promise. However, unilateral promise to be the basis of obligation to law. That's fatal for you say yes and the net benefit. Clause 15 promise under behavior to start man practice not chance late justice circumstances started the bike will promise is more into the character of an act. Modern clarification makes important distinction between legitimate and autonomous acts. Autonomy applies to acts that have independent legislation that is directly to a creation of obligation. Acts which agree with this character are autonomous and create obligation of existence of a ledger from the particularly for NATO, even political moves after negotiation triggered laying of MCA. And I'm 22. What are implications of promises for NATO? Whether statements are legally binding for promises can be as unilateral acts. Promises create obligation and accept and also the political moves of negotiation. Examine whether formalities were completed from a legal view for promises not be seen as binding, neither language or binding force, nor are the circumstances. The counterplan's president creates an on-ramp to restore the Iran deal, brings it back to compliance driven. 20. The U.S. has an obligation to carry the JCPOA. There's no reason which laws come in because Iran strictly compiled. The U.S. pulled out contrary to the aims that are established clear rules according to international institutions, including the political legal provision regarding the viable formation, develop practice. The U.S. must implement the provision of the JCPOA until it expires. And extinction. Clause 20. The world today is still another degree of the nuclear war since Cuba. Iran is not held by nukes within a year. Saudi and Turkey will follow. Bombs can fall into hands terrorists. Hard to deter. Number of planes growing increase. Decisions are responsible speculation. Math quickly gets complex. Game over Homo sapiens. Combatant fans. Solves the app, picks out a combatant commands, and has judicial role. The mechanism is standard for all future security collaboration. Solves existential war current commands, overset boundaries in high-risk regions like Indo-Pacific and Middle East with limited resources. Leaves on multiple missile strikes that trigger U.S. nuclear response. Primitive both nonsensical. Looks like U.S. carrying out security cooperation through the app using ComCom. Solves simultaneously through the ComCom is forbidden sense conflicting signals that separates. 13. Primitive the counterplan servers of security cooperation. Combatant commands are used in all security cooperation duty. 16. Combatant commands serve as a primary vehicle for the idea of security cooperation. Security cooperation articulate how activities and resources align. ComCom provides oversight for all security cooperation duty. 16. Combatant commanders maintain for all security cooperation matters, right? Over the direct planning, execution, security cooperation activities. Prepare a precision definition is cut from the DoD directive defining which responsibility related to security cooperation has an intent to find and exclude. Second, debatability, ComCom inclusion, establish a core mechanism, which is key to trade-off is that normal means competition is good. There's no bright line. It's unclear what normal means is. Definition should be the basis for all app competition. Otherwise, to some incentive to shift what the app actually does. Permanent the app in the second plane, mutually exclusive for all the reasons. Permanent both are mutually exclusive, still include security cooperation, which is combat commands. Other issues cannot solve a function intrinsic. That was the other counterplan. Second, mutually exclusive. They happen simultaneously because of fiat. The other plan is standard is function intrinsic. Nowhere the counterplan does a rule that on non-combat commanders is the standard. Yes, Williver, we fiated it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Unilateral declaration counterplan, you've read a slew of evidence saying the counterplan is unilateral, and then you say it solves NATO. What card says you solve NATO?
So we've read evidence which indicates that the counterplan would be a unilateral declaration, i.e. the U.S. has promised they would do the act. We read evidence that indicates NATO would view it as a promise.
What evidence have you read that says NATO would like follow onto that? It
Everything under the international signal indicates it's the best signal possible. We don't need to win that NATO just like independently follows on.
So,
we read evidence
it's just the U.S. doing a signal that they're going to increase their quantum cyber resilience. It is no cooperation with NATO, correct?
It does cooperation with NATO because we've
How?
promised
It's
we would.
a unilateral declaration.
We have promised we would do cooperation with NATO. We read evidence that indicates the U.S. would follow up the promise, but it's not
promises
beyond
the U.S.
NATO.
does cooperation. What's the guarantee they'll actually do it?
We read evidence that indicates they will do it.
How does a counterplan bind the U.S. will increase their like cooperation with NATO over the plane?
Like this is a solvency mechanism of the counterplan independent of from what is beyond it. What is beyond it is we would propose the act. We read a bunch of evidence that indicates the result of that is the U.S. would then do the act, but it's not beyond it that we actually do the act. Does that make sense?
I still don't understand how the counterplan can result in the U.S. going to NATO and increasing
Yeah,
the
so
quantum
counterplan
resilience.
text, all of it says that we would promise to do the act to the international community. The reason the counterplan is competitive is because we have not actually done the act. So you are free to make the argument that the U.S. would not do the act. We've read evidence that indicates the U.S. would. Does that make sense?
Okay. The combatant commands counterplan, the first permit of the counterplan card says they do. They serve as the primary vehicle for security cooperation. The second card says they control all security cooperation within their respective areas. What evidence do you have that says they do all security cooperation?
The act has to go through a combatant commander because that's the only way the act can be
What
deployed
evidence says that?
internationally.
What evidence says
The first evidence indicates that it's a vehicle for
First
security
evidence says
cooperation
it's the
plans.
primary vehicle for security cooperation, not that it's the only vehicle.
It doesn't have to be the only vehicle, it just has to be the
Okay,
primary
so
vehicle.
there are
because all
instances where
happens
security
through it.
cooperation goes through other vehicles,
Disagree,
right?
we have not read evidence that says that.
You haven't read evidence that says that. It's on the
Nope.
burden's on you to prove competition.
We read evidence that indicates
You
that
have not read any
in all
evidence that
security
says that
cooperation
they're the like
instances,
only vehicle for
Yeah.
security cooperation.
in all security cooperation instances, ComComs are used. That is what both DoD
What
evidence
F?
says.
What F?
DoD 16, quote, combatant commanders
Yes.
maintain responsibility for all security
Neither of
cooperation
those cards
matters,
say that.
provides guidance and oversight to direct planning and execution of security cooperation activities.
The other issues on the unilateral counterplan, the Madison evidence is like very incredibly vague and says it cannot be like narrow or it can't be like broad. It has to be very specific. The counterplan text is very specific. How does that not solve?
Highly disagree. What part of this counterplan text do you think is
Or I meant
in
the
the
perm text. The perm text specifies they increase the unilateral declaration over quantum cyber attacks. Very specific. How
Well,
does that not solve?
two things. A, unclear what that means. There's no solvency advocate attached to it. You have unclear what the permutation could result in. Like, what
Quantum
does it mean
cyber
for the
attack
US
is a cyber attack using quantum computing. It's very clear.
Like, what does it mean for the USFG to independently do that?
Well, they would develop a unilateral declaration over like quantum computing cyber
Like, over
attacks.
what of quantum computing?
On using cyber attacks, how does that not solve?
What does it mean to use cyber attacks and quantum computing?
Like offensive cyber operations.
Okay. What should we say? The order is the CONCOM counterplan, the DOS counterplan, the Advantage counterplan, politics is sad. The export conditions counter plan. The combatant commander's pick. And the critique.
I'm gonna need that again, and you give me like 20 seconds.
Sorry.
to figure it. So like that's
Just let me know when you're ready.
okay, go again.
Con, DOS, advantage counter plan, the politics is sad, the export conditions counter plan, the combatant commander's pick, and then decay.
Was there not unilateral declaration there? I think
There was not, but I might have accidentally said that.
That might have just been me. Okay, just one second.
Wait, we're gonna take a second to prep. Y'all lose the conditionality, right? That would be really sad. It was 2 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds. Anyone not ready? Con can see the program not going forward, just commenting theories are government on the team, or just find elsewhere US can see program not going forward, theories are government on the team, nothing else possible go advance, can like team program, just competition not going forward, politics, they concede numbers, no offense here, they don't get access to it, or the kind of plan takes it out, expectation, they don't see perceived, concede program not going forward, they don't proceed to seek domestic processes, none of the evidence about the counter plan, or counter plans elsewhere, which they can't solve. Now, Concom. Yes, Bill, but refuted the plan to access internally combating commander's bad now, counter plan bans it, that was above, the K. The K outweighs 1, violence is naturalized, coercion, domination, militarization, and removed from consideration systemic inclusion, required calculations of the Schoberg evidence, 2, hypermasculinity, and sustainable, Warren King 94. Patriarchy is final fundamental human rights, empirical, thinking which are unhealthy for humans, superior nature, despite human countries, still women close to nature, the meaning because of the last social operational patriarchy gives rise to unmanageability, abnormal destructive behaviors, and stages of the patriarchy, they must have fallen beliefs that it is when it's God, human rights, domination, that nature is the only instrument to value, president that wars and natural limit, domination, demanding us hand in hand with patriarchy, real life consequences are precisely those considered the problem of war, about destruction, and mindset, ideological, outgrowth, patriarchal thinking, military, worship, and still patriarchal behaviors, which, in continual make life possible, turns case 1, gender violence, hollows out politics, homogenization of people to states, eliminates political possibility, makes predictions impossible, and ensures policy failure that Schoberg 2, K shows the after show 21. Claims the world in plus 16 means we should care more about experts come back to detail problems and recent analysis usually using math models. This is radical mismatch between method and object study leads to comic effects of extreme remote scenarios, experts combines fantastical calculations with a use of 1% chance find value of a section worth 1 billion, 1 billion, 100 billion, utilize comical absurdity. This calculation structure limits the incapable of intervening in any equation system agrees system extreme inequality conclusion with analysis, not risk analysis, value, future, not possible for values, quality, logic, music, capable of extracting yourself from scientific system. Eugenics 2 what is framework, counter the one it sees an object of study, negative links, justification disproving, scholarship is predictable was the reason to vote after they chose. 1 extraction is sad, page 20. Prevalence of sexual metaphors. Oh, this was the one I see evidence. I'll do the evidence below. Is the same existed to research is at German early 2022. Research is that impact research, IR research itself has what impacts on the world and the community in which research is disseminated. No such things on violent research comes in terms of violence. If you keep on understanding political context from clean hands of the practice. 3 scholarship of politics, Berkeley 2020. We must look at the social politics only when it's taken up by policymakers. Gender has political effects, and all the interventions are political theory effects of virtue knowledge practice that covers that like and 4, it's what rounds can't affect. Policy considers the only pedagogically useful insofar as it produces knowledge to change the world. That means only methods matter. Weighing the average to scale through distortions of what each side is led to fiat, presuming magically change policy, but only with arbitrary limitations. 5, key to reciprocal fairness and plenty 6 seconds most stand ground and argumentative decisions about start from the one I see after using predictable results. The internal links to all their often 6 privatization is that Schoberg 15. Policy is interested in relevant to Washington. The notion of objective knowledge might be the root of hierarchy and inclusion. Intellectual kind of reductive analysis and how you think about a project and your work is impacted by implicit masculine assumptions. 7, reject middle ground impulse. 2. Any movement which is challenge or respect the conflict between one countries within the framework and counter framework or system you to support the status quo and defeat the dynamic of the challenge of the work to make conformity public framework you need. Is misguided. The conflict cannot be. We must solve by defending more than certain framework, critique the framework, challenges, and conversations from philosophy must clearly show this political value. 8, frameworks and position of research standards that are guides and neutrality obscures the gender substance the underlying claim that we have made about naturalizing masculine norms within debate in IR scholarship. Criticism is necessary to disrupt the norms within IR that's working. Ensure fairness. It's inevitable. Debate is structurally unfair for women to ensure declining numbers. The impact debate is a good chance depending on the merit, which is above. Class, which one class is over. That was above. No. 2AC2. All text is this text is the card counter. All need text when they defend policy action distinct from the app. So if the offense is more predictable to the line. For the text is 2C3 from developed to non-starter. All into just as the program solves, which is a voting issue for education, argument of responsibility, not forcing them to commit to the scholarship is bad, which makes them with unethical advocacy, and it's a disciplining attack in chapter 20. The evidence working is made in our community to be deemed disciplining is demand to become stronger, ethics to become effective sort of to the question why this world method highlights the effective investment stability and coherence to it. So our hierarchy's value, the alternatives failed IR, you should profoundly relocate debates ethical center, guide you away from masculine understanding more finding towards vulnerability is the starting point for corrective masculine IR, exposing the failure basis of IR that seem natural. It's key to change underlying gender norms on a global scale at worst bracket the planet favor considering femininity or disease center masculine IR, appear to ethical political solutions that influence every masculinity justification of the app is key. Now 2C4 still link. I don't know why they think this is responsive. 2C practically drops the entire link. This is techno-strategism link. They tried to manage war game. to be the tinkering of quantum community that's inseparable from militarism, moments of fictionist and airplane and military tool technology, regional military might a disembodied view of nuclear technology and are, quote, playing with nuclear war and the desire to securitize and impose the view that, quote, quantum due breaks the internet are glancing over material challenges that sanitize later to create the conditions for the use of that liberty in the first place. Great power can only be rationalized from youth through the lens of extraction, not human lives, pain, sex, and politics towards arms racing and strategic competition originated broader culture context of competitive male sexuality domination, which turns the case. Tuesday 5 is no recall, so do the realism here. Also drop, go and see subscribe to real social security, domestic turns and rational decision making, proven by all their impact explanation of the assumption that anarchy is a definitive feature of the hip action and power scripts, peripheral countries, and non-state peoples to humanize them, objective as irrational hysteria until as anarchic the international order isn't our agreement, rather a conflict driven by hypermasculinization of IR, which was above, it's the pain evidence that turns the app. The assumption of zero-sum power competition creates a self-fulfilling prophecy by foreclosing peaceful cooperation or creating pressure toward arms racing and aggression. This is terminal deep into the case that the theories that inform your advantage and solve your false. You should resume the app is strong, which is the pain evidence, and the one at T2EC. 6 is no solvency, lacks warrants, or it's entered above by just the alternative being able to overcome all of the app. Often 2 7 is linked on unique. Brexit question framework and the alternative, but solvency no warrants here. But the root cause argument was the real link above, and masculinity create causes necessitate militarization. Clock 14, femininity or militarization, generalization, responsible change way toward their causal mention analysis not include because of perception, political bias, and trying to patriarchal interest, making express their right there in the military. You don't understand without patriarchal generalization, expenditure, factor, families, ready, sacrifice their seminary, and put their authority by force, makes speech very likely, generalization, team builds, fully full terms, makes coerce the normal. I debate. 6:43.
I'm just compiling cards. Actually, I'll just send it. Sorry?
We're gonna have it block.
Oh no.
We'll use them next time around.
4:30. Raleigh probably has another. Wait, starting from again. combat commander, unilat. Okay.
Is there a second doc?
We're always sending like root cause cards, maybe.
Wait, can you do that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Inch 2. The non-competitive pick. The other non-competitive counterplan. Then the K without links to the app. Okay.
I haven't seen put any of those.
Alright, anyone not ready?
I'm so sorry, I just got the document.
You're good.
Wait, to clarify, is there a second doc sent already, or it might be sent later?
Might be something later.
Okay, then I'm good.
Quantum cyber attacks are coming down with the struck military communication channel for structural instability, nuclear war, all fast impacts of Q-Day happens 2 years, independently NATO consolidation, solves media conflict, no new tune our answers, all but LASA has again extended counterplans which are not competitive, so I hope you enjoy competition speech. Allies do say yes, prefer to have stable economies over ones threatened by complete collapse and pass quantum computer operation crews. Commander Peck, interim security cooperation is accepted by any government agency to achieve security objectives as part of this majority. 14, best predictability and ground interpretation justifies neg pecking out of anything that currently happens under normal processes. Treat competition like steep predictability outweighs only we have a card that is a definition. There's our just descriptions of the SWO, best way to evaluate debate, if there's anything else. Sucker punches prep. You should not hold this to the standard that we do not have a card that says security cooperation can exist without combatant commands. It's the entire reason why normal means competition is bad. Think about how silly this is. If the neg reads a card that says that USFG has never done security cooperation with Madagascar, for example, that would not mean cooperation with Madagascar is not security cooperation. Framing issue neg. Evidence is descriptive of the status quo. It says all security cooperation now is implemented by combatant commands, but does not say all security cooperation ever must be overseen by combatant commands. Or once the evidence is actually even worse, surprisingly. In Shrunk Plot, it says that one day, through one 3D meeting, combatant commands were involved. First, front of the counterplane card of the 2NC, it says combatant command serves as primary vehicle for security cooperation, not the only vehicle setting. Second DoD card says only where it's defined. DoD 16, it says in their assigned areas of responsibility. The next card literally is just one example for debatability. They're not combatant command or key warrants on this topic. The app would have to read that evidence, which does not exist. Combatant command is only primarily responsible for oversight. That's those their evidence probably is not topical, and there are no net benefits either, or it can't solve because they have not read a card that security cooperation cannot be done without combatant commands. So you should assume it fails after that. New salty depths is justified in response to new competition arguments. Yes, clear what normal means is the distinction that you define security cooperation that always, in every instance, must include combatant commands. Functional limits solve constituency. EU unilat deals counterplans say no, and other res words no. New answers unilat. No internal, 1, no epithet, 1 use spills over, or 2, 1 past use enough chances but it's already used unilateral declarations for possible projects means any risk of deficit outweighs cross-line certainty from the other counterplan. If the counterplan competes, it uses an unusual process that other NATO allies can't predict. That means they would say no, or it means there's no effective integration of the app. It doesn't include NATO and it's unilateral. It can't solve what it's intel only. NATO coordination solves mean stabilization, sectors coordination. There are specific NATO multi-lab projects to create quantum solutions to DNS. There's innovation only. NATO can engage with the private sector on quantum innovation. The counterplan would go back to the drawing board. Permanently counterplan. There are the first 3 definitions do not apply, so this has to compete off certainty and VC. A counterplan is an unlikely but possible way the F plan can be done. What is after ground requiring the F to be immediate and certain enables the worst possible planks that make debate impossible. These topics are already functionally constrained by US, DoD, and NATO keys tried after ground because debating counterplans are so difficult. Internal benefits are unnecessary, even if this says they're not perfect. They only need to accompany overpower functional limits above, drop functional limits, cross-apply them. They say it's their counterplan text uses the word it's security cooperation too. They say security cooperation counterplan uses that word with, same thing. If those words are in the counterplan, then it cannot compete off those words to use a classic line. Competition 101. Resolved is not on the resolution in the card. Says it expresses an opinion. Insert that. Increase merely requires the growth in SEO of this cooperation is defined in the definition as a revolving built-in. 1. Translative verb increases as cause become greater in size. Should is neither certain nor immediate. First possible future event sets ground. If we win the definition of should, that modifies substantial, but it just refers to significant. Or 2. Guided by the definition itself with substantial weight. Suggests considerable large degree. See what to see. Also OED. Regardless, the counterplan cannot compete at all. Security cooperation or military engagements. Either 20. Security cooperation refers to military engagements. Those are non-binding. Those are 19. Engagements covenants is legally binding or non-binding commitments. Engagements extend beyond legally binding. Okay. Sure. Only the claim certainty solves first industry relations. Short says that developing common standards and security systems requires a great deal of trust and flexibility of the private sector. The app Counterplay collapses that by introducing a whole new actor in the plan for running any effective solution to quantum. Second, Intel assurance and says that the linchpin of Intel quantum is trust. Alice perceived the counterplan as an uncertain commitment to Intel security, making them reticent to share intelligence circuits, melodies, Intel cooperation impact. Also, for app ground counterplans that compete off should or always going to lose because the delay counterplan is OP, no answers, K. Over. These are not unique. There's no root cause. The extension of the card number says the word many all causes does not true case. No pseudo false scalar or complexity when they drop the case, so you should assume its internal links are true. Existential ethics is a good topic at Taurus. 23. Existential ethics has been ignored even if you don't think existential is likely practical polarity of rings of philosophical issues. Existential ethics is responding to fundamental questions about value and existence, making mediating on why pieces might be worth saving useful. Extension more probably or interested away from what anyone hardly think about. The ethical implications, framework, way the applicants links to the plan beyond implications, their interpretation, based on what they see by actively shifting the focus of debates, negative turn defensive arguments and offensive arguments for the case from any section of the library that brings the game for the neg. Fairness outweighs intrinsic good game both sides. Expect the judge to the value of the debate fairly. No abstraction, just that they have to win a link to the app using nuclear language like nuclear deterrence. That's their card. We have not claimed no research that's not only our offensive value cannot revolutionize debate. All causes like only schools of religion outweigh will change blocks on our minds. Invest only change only comes after thousands round or one. Scholarships and politics argument that's not about debate. They say it's about what rounds can change. We agree they can only use on procedural fairness. Say the middle ground impulse is bad. We agree way the plan because it's most fair. They say structural unfairness exacerbated by their interpretation because big schools break new K's every round. No app choice negative. Has infinite K reps to the 1AC. Group the links. None are unique. You all can't solve them. There's also no root cause. Robert says it is possible to explain all forward relations through one lens. There's a combination of factors that make monolithic claims obsolete. If we went framework, they drop the case, so it outweighs any other events.
Oh wait, I'm so sorry. That's our prep time.
5:20. Okay. Command commanders. The other counterpart that I'm forgetting, you're gonna laugh. Okay. Anyone not ready? Game over, Janet conceded the floating pin coming out of the 1AR bracket. The planet's having her ascending femininity order de-center masculinity in IR. It's a prerequisite to ethical political solutions that influence or revising masculine justification for the app is key. Framework, irrelevant, conceding it for the app. That is the only interpretation. Explicitly did not say that we don't get reps links, which means that they're definitely good. Dropped every reason why weighing reps links is good. You cannot separate the plan from its representations. A, influences how the plan goes down. The provable evidence that theory and praxis merge to produce legislative and political outcomes. They determine the frame policymakers adapt their decision making. Second, empirically proven that Kissinger withdrawing troops that yielding concerned results proves that consequentialism is unable to account for our representations constitute the world around us. Third, procedurally and fair concede for your single impact. The plan is 8 second long. Naked argumentative development becomes from the one you see others. The app is conditional. Again, all of their offense only tied to weigh the app. Conceded they get to weigh the app. We just get represents. It's just a question of the pig. We only knew when 1% of the risk, 1% risk of the link because it solves the app. We have an external impact that causes extinction. Masculine IR is unsustainable and turns decay. The Warren and Katie evidence is phenomenal. Says the logical control domination justifies over exploitation, environmental destruction, which fuels climate change, bounty loss, and nuclear prologue that turns case. The culprit evidence, which makes a causal claim that private gender violence and rhetorical control, publicized conflict escalation, which means only the all consoles. 1AR asserts that there are no words. Our evidence is contextualized to the study of IR and the app. Going for the realism link, which is what we're picking out of. The 1AC subscribes to realist notions of security to the love of deterrence and rational decision making. The assumption that anarchy is a defining feature of world systems that can only be counterbalanced through hegemonic masculine powers to script hurtful countries and non-state peoples as feminized by projecting them as a rational hierarchy, hysterical, uncivilized, and anarchic. The international order is not anarchy, but rather conflict is driven by hyper-masculinization of IR, which drives mutual cycles of anxiety and competition, gendered hierarchies of violence and domination, naturalized aggression by viewing IR with hyper-masculinist things. That's the pain evidence that turns the app. The assumption that zero-sum power competition creates a self-fulfilling prophecy by focusing peaceful cooperation, which creates pressure towards arm raising and aggression. This is terminal defensive case. If the theories inform the advantages and insolvency are false, you should presume that the app is wrong. That's pain. Asserted it's not us, it is. The 1AC has made causal interlinked claims that presume rationality and zero-sum power competition. All of this is proven by the claims of deterrence, miscalculation, etc. All of it presumes a one-to-one correlation that can predict state actions and we can effectively deter it. All of them assumes that rationality is true. Either way, hold the line. 1AR says words, quote, it's not us. Do not allow the 2AR to actualize the app further than this because 1AR did excellent link work as to why this is true. Permutation do both. Not extending the 1AR, do not give it to them. There's no explanation of why the permutation dissolved. Even if you think the pick is irrelevant, framework, only value of ontology and epistemology debate does not have a one-to-one correlation with client outcome, but the way we speak and research does affect how we internalize masculinity. When these epistemological questions come prior to when the app, going for the privatization decide to their model, their intern participates in a gendered process of differential whose sole focus becomes violence out there without understanding how violence in here is a precondition. Two implications both are conceded. A, violence and debate in the midst of seemingly neutral imagination we forget to hold or implicit assumptions accountable, which militarize our social relations, recreates intimate violence. Second, serial policy failure recreates a public-private dichotomy which includes debaters feeling about violent IR returns the app. This comparatively outweighs their offense. Every reason they have for why you prefer their model requires you to render a value judgment on debate which you impact on because it outputs unethical subjects. Voting negative creates an incentive for teams to refuse hyper-masculine discourse and research new forms of IR which only starts offense but is a valid keyword that none of their offense has. The only answer is subject information. That is not us. All causes are relevant. Drop that research because are unique. A turns clash becomes a question of what we clash over which takes at their offense. They have no reason why the clash that we discuss over is distinct from the process that we clash over, which is the only question of who results in the best clash. As choice solves the rest of the offense, everyone is critiquing implicit inbound assumptions as good as an impact rate for the infinitely regressive board because you should be prepared to defend all portions of the affirmative, even if the one you see is based on the effects of the plan, the process of research of the plan, which produces justification of truth, and it's predictable. Either way, it solves the risk of dissent, outweighs any residual offense. The realism is not true. There are multiple options in the theory of international relations that are not neutral but operate all on gendered lines. Either way, you don't need to win this because the app has not made a no link argument. Link, it's to the plan. Link, it's to the app. They said we get to weigh the app. I only need to win that we get reps links, not their framework just what they get for the app, which is
The extinction offense isn't offensive for them, not for link about it. Just
yeah, extinction offense, not offense for them, not them for link about extinction. Nothing. Oh, sorry. The two counterplans. Conceive heard has a competition. Competition not cost applicable. No permutation made on the critique. Can't go for it.
Framework is a yes/no question that makes this an easy after all. LASA has conceded that fairness is the only impact. The only thing that matters now in this debate is framework, because if you win it, you scratch every leak off your list. The plan's fiat implications, which includes rep links, which is an important consideration in your RFD. Now I'll go to case page. The case page was dropped in the 200 fees, and that definitely outweighs any risk of a link on attacks for coming out of the compromise or at military intel that caused first strike by China, because they'll perceive they have a window of opportunity to strike the U.S. because they know where all of our nuclear missiles are. That creates a scenario for escalation or nuclear war, which outweighs any risk of links on the K. Now go to the K. Framework or interpretation is the way the applicants links to the plans. Fiat the implication of the latter is important. The intern was fit and flash, no takebacks. That means the tuner only goes for rep links when they cannot win if we win framework, because you scratch all the links off the flow because they're not to the plans. Fiat implications, which is a very important distinction. The tuner very much overlooks. Their interpretation is unfair, moves for predicting like ground off. Team would also predict and for every section of the library, which tells the negative to monopolize prep really to have a meaning. The prior question or artificial read opposite and leveraging defensive arguments that culminate in you link, you lose, bottle up debate. There was not an answer to the eternal OPGs presumed. We act as a ginormous impact to fairness. The other impact is their research. They conceded that the interpretation will mean we research against their K, which means that which you exacerbate all of your obvious about prioritization, because it's an only set it does sort of double down and give it our framework and give it our and negating the game, which creates more violence. It also makes the voting pick actively unwinnable. The inclusion of reps link is bad, so the voting pick is also actively bad. There's no net benefit to the pick. The presumption flips aft because there's no net benefit. You're after you cannot be any risk of a reps link, because you have to decide framework. Again, is a yes/no question. If we run framework, you scratch every link off your floats, not the plans. Fiat implication, which is all of them, because not extending a link that is not the represent. All the links are just representation of the one you see now. Fairness is the only impact that Valve cannot act changes or just having to but it can remedy procedural unfairness. One is made of the game, which requires a fair arena. Two, LASA clearly values going for arguments on a technical basis, hoping for your fair decision and by fair judges. Left on answer the tuner without any substantive arguments. Three, it explains why sexism is bad. It is unfair discriminating based on the concept of gender. But after we went the first page, because one, impact out of the case will always outweigh the much tiny risk of the case. Two, no linger impact. I tried to have a link and impact off your flow then off the plans. Fiat implication, they did not accidentally link the plan, but even if they did, it's still not any weeks. It only by unique consequences of the plan. Now the first argument and the short about the floating pick is irrelevant if we're in favor, because there's no net benefit to the alternative, which means you have to vote out on presumably consequential. Some stuff is relevant because they dropped the tuner. Torres evidence which says that value and extended rights reason empathy of care for other people also is not a link to the plans. Fiat implication, which means you cannot evaluate any of the accidentals of no turns case for the IRS. There's no specific to our specific scenario how it implicates Alice was incredibly vague in the tuner for any of the turns case analysis, which means you should not do it for, because we have a specific internal link and the China perceives they have a window of opportunity to strike the U.S. escalated nuclear war. No turns case for the IRS national stuff. There's no contextually specific or specific scenario. No miscalculations, obviously, because our scenario is very, very specific, and there's no explanation for how masculine drives causes Xi Jinping to strike the United States. Now, voting neighbors not for fun or propolize their research panels matter a lot, because all the framework operations all policy mechanisms rely on this. If we win it, vote out on presumption, because there's no uniqueness for the link or impacts. You are just sort of assorts of voting neck for having without citing any arguments. First, debate does not do anything. We switch sides, have different debates. Everyone have varying responses to losses and have lies outside of bed. Second, voting for gay just means we'll right, but our can't answers debate is not indoctrination. It is losing the argument. Does not make you believe or endorse it. If we did, we would all think that Polly said is true. Indicated the thing forever is more and more true every time we lose out debates. Obviously ridiculous. They say should be prepared in the app or prepared to defend its consequences, but not against interpretation, because just find any came from every section of the library, because they allow any links to the representation of the one to see privatization. It's at one. They can see that pursuit of abundance is the only impact the value solves any risk of any other rights, non and around impacts to go to all of our defense and just subjectivity should apply to across my blocks that change and will research against your K returns for obvious B. Also all causes like family, school, religion have far more implications on privatization than drop that it is not about debate, which means any other interaction or any news input about international relations or war or policy making stuff. This argument they say realism not true. There's no explanation what we don't need because the app does not rely on realism to solve it. They conceded our explicit internally that the war is an argument that Xi Jinping is offensive realist. There's not arguments or specific scenario that he perceives a window opportunity to strike the United States. They have not one that it is universally true, so you can't evaluate it. There's no serial policy for government. Again, they conceded that the one is solvency and internal links are a specific reason why the affirmative solves that. So this is also not offense against the affirmative. You don't include reference to the serial policy failure would apply to the pick too, so there's no net benefit. They've conceded that fairness is the only impact. There's no net benefit to the pick if we win framework. I do not know what the 2R said. I do not understand why the 2R was going for this argument. Our interpretation is you must weigh the applicant's links to the plans via the implications, not to the representations of the 1AC, which means you cannot vote negative in this debate. You must vote out.
There's like, if there's a 1% risk, I feel like you have to evaluate it as like, I don't think the score was like that good. Like, in, like, as a contextualist, I was obviously very good on like the theory of property. Yeah, but that doesn't mean all you can get from saying there's no risk. Self-fulfilling prophecy. So like find it. I floated it.
Yeah, and then if you it's like we should probably.
I feel like we still have this.
Any of us are down bad, none of us are free.
Figuring it out.
It's on his third. It's on his fifth.
It's for kids. And I like that much more.
It doesn't come with. Well, no, it does compete itself. Oh, you all just I'm really sorry. You have so much stuff. No, I never. It's. Well, I have certain This is the best keyboard.
Well, yeah, the trade-off is the same.
If you measure a speaker voice per minute,
It's so scary.
Only teacher I remember learning anything from. I did learn something from her, but they were somewhat related. I guess I did learn.
And they all.
Have a good life. See you
Yeah, that the reps the without realism, they said they're picking out realism. Yeah. Yeah, because it's not because if they so if the macro framework I mean I would love if they answer the distance. It's not part of the yeah. It's definitely a Lancer accent. Yeah, it's framed it that way. Yes.
Anyway, what you said was pop, and then it would, yeah, or click. Wait, no. Flip it around. Click your tongue and then it actions.
It's like if we were staying in, it's okay. If we were right.
Once in person, twice online.
I've never given this one rest.
You think about what the best, like, or the weakest, like, US and then just run that, which allows you to test it before the round. No, use strategy.
I always start asking like not bored, but this is so horrible. He's like 20 minutes back. And then it's because like it's yeah, I mean, if I was like more advanced in that, I was like doing like I try to get it. It's like just yeah, I've never watched them. Never watched them. That's not whatever. They don't get yeah, that was I think dropped it. Not this doesn't make any sense.
Those aren't her favorite things. She's not calm down.
No, I was. Oh my
I know it was. I just don't.
Did you know I was No, it wasn't.
Yeah, no. She was like, this is my thought. But it was like, so Sam and Alex are
You know who didn't shout out us? Good team.
I have this weird thing. Like they just
You're God. You're God.
I have. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't
So like sound amount of
Wait, have you seen
What's the average? Also like
Alright, we got a decision if you want to get everyone in here. You want to tell people in the hallway, we got a decision. right. Thank you all for attending the 52nd annual J.W. Patterson Tournament of Champions. After a fantastic final round, the decision on a 2-1 is the negative. And in second place, runner-up, Montgomery Valley Catholic.
So I sat, I don't know how much you all want to hear.
Just like brief, yes.
Yeah, I want to preface, this was a super close debate. I thought it was really good on both sides. And a few things here and there persuaded. I just voted affirmative. I agree with the 2AR framing that it's a question of yes or no on framework, which means if the AF is framework, then I'm voting AF. I think the AF is clear. And at the very least, the 1AR, the 2A is a little iffy, that the plan is that you should weigh the AF against, weigh the plan against the weights that are specific to the AF, that are theoretic implications and not just a question of reps. It's clear, at least in the 1AR, and there are arguments about why anything else prioritizes an infinite amount of prior questions and cases of random parts or lines in the 1AC that would ultimately ruin procedural fairness, that both teams agree is an external impact that my ballot can involve. The 2NR is largely pertaining to how the ass offense is solely about weighing the plan, which I agree is the first half of the argument. It doesn't get into the latter half about how prioritizing anything else is necessarily a race to the bottom in an attempt to move the app and forces the app to research and justify a bunch of infinite representations that they could not have constantly planned for. I think this largely implicates the rest of the debate. The negative has a counterintuitive extended at the very bottom with the privatization DA and some serial policy killer offense that I don't think the 2AR answers at all. But given some conceded ballot arguments about how the ballot can only solve procedural fairness, there are defense to sensitivity, things like how people don't change and their orientation towards IR, but only the blocks change. All those things mean that I think that their offense necessarily outweighs yours, which is why I don't think the counterintuitive is necessarily as where you want it to be for your reps stuff to apply. The last thing is just whether or not I think the link is a rep thing or a link fiat to implications. I agree with the affirmative here that it seems to be a link to the representations. Trying to understand the realism seems to be a justification behind why the 1AC is good, but I can't really explain to MBA why doing the affirmative would necessarily further realism, besides the fact that it is the underpinning and ideological sort of assumption that they have posited, which is why I think that it is still a representation link. And given the framework offense, I thought they were winning means that I felt okay, which means that the voting pick doesn't matter and everything else is there.
MBA, we say firsthand that second place sucks, but you all should be immensely proud both of this debate and the whole season. You two are fantastic, candid. I think you're one of the best cross-exers that I've seen in high school, period. Exemplified both in this debate as well as the last one. I thought the 1AR was fantastic, especially on counterpoint competition, something that I very much admire. I thought the 2AR framework arguments were extremely smart. I thought the app was well written. I mean, I barely interacted with the topic, and even I know that like 75% of the cards in the wiki have RMAX at the end. So, I mean, you two really have had an incredible season, and this does not take away from that in any way. I don't know exactly how much you want to hear. It's totally fine to be like none, to be like a small amount.
Yeah.
TLDR is, I think you win framework. I'm neg on risk of a link. I can go for reasons why that's the case. Big one is I don't think you answer reps shape reality, which is one of the first things the neg says after the floating pick and the 2NR. I think there's a lot of ambiguity over what the added effects of the plan means. The neg at least alleges it's a link to the plan. They say that. You don't have a normative standard for why presumption is auto-aff if you win this. It seems like there's some room for disagreement over the extent to the plan's link is. Also, the fact that the link is dropped completely, I mean, you say like to the squove or something, but the actual link and the mechanics of the link aren't discussed really at all, means that I'm inclined to sort of shift ties a little bit in their favor. I can go a lot more precisely. I don't want to, take it up. I have stuff written down, so if at any point you have more questions, I'm happy to go over it. But basically the gist is, I think you win framework, but I don't think you can test the floating pick, which I think is the biggest. I think you should have just been like, no, we can cross-apply stuff, obviously. The 2NR agreed procedural fairness is the only impact. We had a million things on the counterplans about half ground, competition and whatnot. Clearly you can say no floating picks. Plus, I also thought you should have just been like, it was not a clear floating pick at all. The line they referenced was bracket the plan in favor of centering femininity. I interpreted that as like an exclude the plan thing, like a prior question thing, like forget the plan in favor of centering femininity. But absent that, if I think the negative gets the pick, then I'm offense, defense on. They've done enough to make me skeptical if there's just a zero link. It solves the whole case, so if there's any link, I'm in.
Yeah, I'll echo. First thing is that I'm not sure I've gone a turn without judging an MBA team, at least, if not you all, some other MBA team for like the 3 years that I've been judging. And every one of those debates involves at least some carbs cut by either one of you. And they're always like probably better than the other team's cars, and probably why I vote for you all so much. And like that is a testament to like the dedication that you all put into this activity, and it represents everything that I love about debate. And I think that you all as debaters are pretty much the best example of what people can look to in order to succeed in this activity. And I think that is a great model to be setting. I agree with Rafa. Some risk of a link. I also thought like some external impact that is certainly shaped by masculinity. Floating pick access to larger impact than the case alone. And so even if there isn't a link, the pick is better than the plan. Because they're winning some inroads to nuclear war, they're winning some inroads into your offense, despite the sort of grumbling about specificity in the 2AR. And there's some external impacts to environmental devastation for the like top card right in the 1NR that has no defense to it. And so because the pick arguably results in the AF, it accesses this sort of specificity that maybe not be accessed by like feminist IR theory alone. PIG also accesses environmental devastation impact that is conceded, terminal extinction, larger magnitude and scope in the plan. And so the PIG is more desirable and presumption doesn't float out. And so go to neg on the floating.
Makes sense. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
As you leave, please clean up after yourself.